that he can be funny when contained.
This is 5 Live, and let's talk 2 Days in New York.
So, Un Film de Julie Delpy, who directs and also stars Follow Up to 2 Days in Paris, which itself was a kind of, I suppose a footnote, a sort of twist to that whole before sunrise, sunset thing. Story is Marion has now moved to New York, where she's living with a sort of a hip DJ, Mingus, played by Chris Rock. They both have children from previous marriages. They are visited by family from France, father, sister, and annoying sister's boyfriend. Here's a clip.
Look who's here! International sausage smugglers! Chanel! Pleased to meet you.
Kiss!
One, two, three.
En Bretagne, 3 fois.
I never got 3 before. Ça va?
Ouais, j'avais rapporté plein de cadeaux, mais ils m'ont tout piqué à la douane.
You had so many presents for our sausages, you know, as I told you, but they took it at customs.
They took the sausage, but they didn't take the smell. So you're giving us something right now. And you must be the famous Sister Rose.
Yes, famous for what, please?
Pleased to meet you. Mwah. Famous Rose. And you are?
Oh, I'm Manu. Super nice meeting you. I'm Rose's boyfriend. I used to be Mario's boyfriend, but now I'm with Rose.
Now, it has to be said, that's not a hilarious clip.
It is quite funny, though, if you know what she's famous for.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly.
Which as was established in the interview last week, it's not giving anything away. She's famous for being a nymphomaniac. And then when I expressed astonishment that she had such a bizarre family, she said, well, we all know nymphomaniacs. And I said, I didn't.
Yeah, I know.
No, but hey,
it's a cultural thing. Here's the thing about 2 Days in New York.
All French families know.
I'm not going there. I'm not even going there.
And they mentioned the cheese and sausages.
I know, yeah. The cheese and sausages is made at the very beginning.
Gang.
The father turns up he's attempted to get into the country with cheese and sausages smuggled in his clothes. The customs take all the cheese and sausages off him, and one of the first things that happens is he says the cheese and sausages were taken off, but not the smell. So they're making they smell of cheese gags. Fine, Julie Delpy, she's French, she's allowed to do it. So that's fine. The first thing I have to say about 2 Days in New York is I laughed all the way through it. I mean, I genuinely laughed a lot. I stopped counting just way back. I just laughed a lot, and particularly coming off the back of having just reviewed The Dictator. This, to me, is what a comedy film ought to deliver, which is laughs, chuckles, sufficient laughter. The old thing about Woody Allen saying insufficient laughter is grounds for divorce. Well, this gave me sufficient laughter. It does have very, very personal stuff in it. I mean, Julie Delpy's father, the whole... It is clearly a personal work. It is about, people dealing with midlife crises and family. You can't take them anywhere. That's the tagline. And the idea of sort of complex interpersonal relationships. So it does have a solid underpinning of that stuff, which does all feel personal and confessional as well it might do. But the most important thing is it's a comedy that's funny. People have made comparisons to Woody Allen, which is interesting. I laughed a lot more in this than I have in a lot of recent Woody Allen films. Actually, the other thing in the background there is always, people always mention Woody Allen, but they don't mention Nora Ephron. But it was one of those things when you sit there and you watch it and you think, I'm sorry, I'm enjoying the company of this central character. I'm enjoying the traumas of this family. I'm enjoying the way in which, but I like the dialogue. I like the atmosphere of it. And it's too easy to just say, oh, it's kind of Woody Allen-ish, because it isn't. It's a film that has.
But it is
Woody Allen-ish, but that's not.
Woody Allen.
But that's not enough for it to just say that. And in fact, why is it that when people say that they don't say classic Nora Ephron? Because actually, funnily enough, more often than not now, that's what they mean. I mean, that kind of smart talking thing is closer to, for example, the dialogue of When Harry Met Sally than it is to a lot of what Woody Allen's done recently. I'm a huge Woody Allen fan, but I laughed at this more than I did at many recent Woody Allen films. The other thing to say is that it does have this kind of, dark existential underpinning going on in the background. And there is, and I'm not going to blow this, there is a cameo by a famously difficult actor who turns up playing. So I'm not going to say who it is. You may well have already heard or read about it, but if you haven't, don't read reviews and don't find out, because towards the end...
Is it Steven Seagal?
It is Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal turns up with the stick-on ponytail. There is a cameo, which I'm not going to tell you who it is, but it's beautifully played, because it's one of those things when you think, that's really clever. You've got an actor whose reputation is unbelievably difficult and, really very, very... explosive, and you've cast him in exactly the right role, and you've got him to play himself as unbelievably difficult and narky and slappable in actually a very funny cameo. And it is, to me, pretty much the definition of how a good cameo role should be done. Somebody playing themselves in a way which isn't self-serving. I was reminded of that terrible movie Anybody's Trifle or whatever it's called. You know, it's No Ordinary Trifle, Love's Kitchen. I can't
that
remember.
one. Yeah.
That one.
Worst film of the year.
Yeah, worst. But with that guy, the chef,
Gordon Ramsay,
who's appalling in it. And literally all he does is he comes in and everyone says, "Ooh, Gordon, love your empire." And then he goes, "Yeah." And that's the worst cameo, right? And here is the best cameo. You get somebody in and you use them in exactly the way that you should use them, which is undercutting and snipey and you're kind of impressed by the fact that they're playing themselves like that. I laughed all the way through 2 Days in New York. I think Julie Delpy is actually a pretty talented director. I hate to use it, but I like the humanity of it. I like the fact that I thought those characters were genuinely interesting, and I laughed. You?
And Chris Rock.
Chris Rock says it's the best role he's ever been given, and crucially, it's a straight role. He said it on this show. No, yes. I know. I was throwing the ball to you. That he said that it was the best role he's ever done, and he plays it really well. He's a really good straight man, isn't he?
Yeah, and he'd clearly like to do more of the same. So this is Dan Clay. Simon, on a recent trip to France, I managed to convince my wife and parents that a trip to see a culture clash comedy was in order, especially considering how enjoyable 2 days in Paris had been. So I was quite surprised that Julie Delpy has once more managed to pull off a delightful little comedy, somehow making Chris Rock likeable. And though stereotypical in her depiction of the French, probably some would say quite accurate too. After all, the scattering of French folk in the cinema seem to like it too. And, there's a lot of, as you heard in the clip, there is a lot of it in French, which is used very well because that's part of the gag, because Chris Rock, as he said, doesn't understand any French at all. So there's that classic farce of completely misunderstanding what the other person is saying and people taking advantage of the fact.
But well done farce, because people forget. I mean, we were talking before about, Gareth Evans saying people just think action is easy to do. It isn't. Action done badly is boring. People think farce is easy to do. It isn't. When you see farce done properly like that, you go, that's really funny.
So clearly Julie Delpy and Chris Rock had something which they wanted to develop and they wanted to do more of, and we will ignore the fact that digital radio listeners might have heard your stomach grumble there.
Thank you.
Inappropriately. And clearly Chris Rock has had enough of doing the kind of stereotypical two-dimensional characters that he normally gets asked to do, and he wants to act, and clearly he can act.
Yeah, no, he does it very well. He's very